But when it comes to racial identity, Starnes says, that is where the two men part ways. For while Obama calls himself a black man, Woods prefers the term Cablinasian, a word he coined to explain his racial heritage, which includes black, Asian, Native American, and Caucasian.
Tiger's a racial revolutionary because he refuses to be classified as either black or white.
He doesn't actually have to say he's proud to be an African-American golfer. What he needs to say is, I am an African-American golfer. We have Hispanics, Native Americans on the PGA Tour. What we don't have is black, so the problem is not a minority issue, it's a black issue.
Payton says that for the first time in years, he has not been able to identify a single African-American high school golfer who has the talent to change the fortunes of his program.
Realistically, how far are we from having another black player joining Tiger Woods on tour?
No, anywhere from 5 to 10 years.
It's getting worse. We got a black president. We got a lot of black great businessmen. We got a lot of diversity between, black, white, Latino, Asian. All cultures are intermingling now. But as far as the PGA Tour is concerned, the rest of the world is moving way too fast.
Mark Schwartz reporting. Neither Tiger Woods nor PGA Tour Commissioner Tim Finchem would agree to be interviewed specifically on this topic. A tour spokesman spoke of the tour's initiative First Tee, which claims to have involved more than 2 million youngsters in the sport of golf, though First Tee's own mission statement speaks of reaching out to kids of all backgrounds. The tour says the past decade has seen an increase in African-American golfers, college age or younger. All are welcome, said the spokesman, but it takes time. Let's take this time now to say good day to Kevin Blackistone of AOL Sports, who's also teaching at the University of Maryland, Rich Lerner of the Golf Channel, and also hello to Edward Wanambwa of the African American Golfers Digest. Good to have you all here, gentlemen. A lot to cover, but Edward, quickly, what do you think the single biggest reason is we are staring at these numbers?
Well, I think it's about access and resources. I mean, I think the preceding piece showed that golf is a very expensive sport. It costs a lot of money for you to stay out on tour, and you're not going to make it out there if you're practicing at a local municipal golf course with your local golf pro as your instructor. And a lot of African-American golfers, both male and female, just don't have access and resources to be able to get out there and play on that level.
Rich, we heard the voices of Eddie Payton and also of young Stephen Reed talk about exclusion, the feeling, the sense that there's an active sense on the part of some people in the hierarchy to keep things the way they are. What do you say to that?
I disagree with that. I mean, if Eddie Payton, whom I respect, is going to throw that out there, some people in the upper reaches of the game want to keep it, as he intimated, white only. I think he ought to call those people out rather than cast the net over everybody in the sport. I think at this point, with the high-end bubble having burst, it really is not primarily a race issue. It is an issue, as Edward just indicated, of access and affordability. And I think golf clearly has to do a better job of finding more affordable ways to bring the game to young people. But time is a luxury nowadays. Time is an indulgence. This is a game that takes hours to learn, hours to play on a given day. And golf just hasn't been able to reach the kid in the inner city at this point. There's a basketball court probably on every corner. It doesn't cost a lot to play that game. You get a ball and a hoop and a few guys and you're off and running. Golf's just a different story, and at this point we haven't done a good enough job of bringing the game to the inner city.
Well, Kevin, if there's a finger to be pointed, where should it be pointed?
Well, it should be pointed at golf. I mean, we got to remember...
Golf who, though? Golf what?
Well, golf in general as a sport. I mean, just last year, Bob, we had the LPGA come up with a rule about an English-only rule that was basically aimed at the Asian women who were dominating that sport. We have a sport that's going to be... whose dual competition is at Augusta National, which is an exclusive club. We have a sport that, as was pointed out in your piece, used to have a Caucasian-only rule. You know, if golf wants to have people of color in its ranks, it can do what the LPGA has done for years with Michelle Wie. It has sponsors who can give exemptions to guys who may win the MEAC tournament or the SWAC tournament, people who play for Eddie Payton. Golf can do that, but it hasn't done that, and the fact that Tim Finchem won't come on your program and talk about it is part of the problem.
But Kevin, what good is it going to do to give a young man from the MEAC or the SWAC a one-time invitation? That's not going to ultimately solve the problem of finding young African Americans who have the ability to last on tour. It is difficult. What you need to do, I think, is to identify the youngsters at the age of 12 and 13 and get them to these intensive academies, a Ledbetter Academy, and train them there. The sport right now is a coaching-driven sport. It's a full lifestyle. You have to immerse yourself in it, and that costs money.
How much a year for somebody on the nationwide tour, Rich? Give me an estimate, because we heard Stephen Reed talk about Caucasian golfers having better backing. Give me a number.
I mean, it probably is it's a $100,000 undertaking for just a year to keep your expenses and to cover your nut. But I would say this to Stephen Reed. I'm not sure what he's talking about when he says an attachment to his dream. I don't think Tiger owes him that. Tiger owes us only what he's always given us, and that's his very best. And to Tim O'Neill, Tim O'Neill, I would say this: put the number on the card. I'm not suggesting that his journey has not been difficult and fraught with obstacles. I could never know what it's like to walk in those shoes. But I would say this: the likes of Lee Trevino, who came from a poor background, Jimmy Demerit, Pete Brown, Calvin Pete, they found a way. You have to put a number on the card. Put that 65 down, and they cannot stop.
So much of this discussion comes back to Tiger Woods. How fair of it is it, Edward, that Tiger is in the crosshair of this discussion?
Well, I don't think that it squarely rests on Tiger's shoulders. I mean, I'd have to agree with Rich. I mean, Tiger has done what Tiger's supposed to do. You know, there's a difference between being obligated and compelled, and Tiger's only obligated to be a good husband, a good father, the best golfer he can be, and an outstanding role model and citizen, which he has done in his 12-plus years on tour. But
and to what he does with his foundation, as he said in our report, what would you say to that?
Well, I think, to be quite honest, I think that Tiger sort of hides behind his foundation a little bit.
Oh, what do you mean hides behind his foundation? I don't understand that at all. What does that mean, hide behind his foundation? Name me an athlete who raises more money than Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I agree with that. I mean, Tiger is socially active with his foundation, but he said himself, you know, my foundation is not about producing the next black golfer. It's about producing citizens, and I applaud him for that. But I mean, it also gives him an out to say, well, I'm socially active every day. I mean, the fact that neither him or Tim Fincham would come on this show to sit back and specifically address the development of the next African-American golfer speaks volumes to me.
Kevin, why is the Asian heritage of Tiger Woods? Why is his Asian heritage not on the table here?
Well, because I think Americans and black folks in general have really fetishized Tiger Woods and have embraced his black side, despite the fact that Tiger Woods has pretty much lived his adult life and made it clear through what he hasn't done that, you know, he's not going to be Bill Spiller. He's not going to sit down at the first tee at a golf tournament where black folks haven't been allowed to participate. That is not him. He is not Calvin Pete. He is not all these people who have come before him. The problem is that he confused us at the very beginning because Nike allowed him to be the focal point of that commercial they put out, which really played on the color of his skin.
Specifically, Kevin, what should he be doing then?
Well, I think he should be doing what he's doing, and that's he's been very honest. He always says he's going to let his foundation speak for him. I don't think, unfortunately, that Tiger Woods owes anything really to anyone other than who he wants to embrace, and I think that's fine.
Bob, Tiger does not have a responsibility, in my view, no more than Dara Torres has a responsibility to speak out on issues relating to gender equality, no more than David Ortiz of the Red Sox has a responsibility to speak out on issues that matter to Latino people. I mean, we don't ask movie stars to speak out. When they do, they're often criticized. Is it their right to speak out? Certainly it is, but it's not an obligation.
All right, we're going to stand.
Well, I think Tiger has a platform, though. I mean, Tiger has a platform to affect change. And, Rich, I have to agree with you. I mean, he's not obligated to speak out on the social issue unless he truly believes in that issue.
All right,
and I think Tiger's done a fantastic job.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for your time. Great discussion. Kevin Blackistone, Rich Lerner, Edward Wanambwa. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
and
Bob.
to learn more on golf, confronting the dearth of African-American golfers, read the companion piece by Mark Schwartz online at ESPN.com. Next, a surprising strain of outside